Hello and welcome to the Tennessee Informer. Thank you all for being with us. Glad you could make it. Happy Bill of Rights Day. Today is the 234th anniversary of the ratification of the Bill of Rights by the states on December 15, 1791. It includes the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. When proposed in March of 1789, it included the following preamble. The conventions of a number of the states having at the time of their adopting the Constitution expressed a desire, in order to prevent misconstruction or abuse of its powers, that further declaratory and restrictive clauses should be added, and as extending the ground of public confidence in the government will best ensure the beneficent ends of its institution. It's important to remember that the Bill of Rights were originally just limits on the federal government, not the state governments. This was to quell fears that the Constitution, as originally passed in 1789, would create a federal government that was too powerful and would overwhelm the states. Well, that happened even with the Bill of Rights, but we'll talk about that topic more in depth in our second show tonight with another author, Dave Bennett. That starts at 8:30 p.m. In America, many of us recognize our rights as coming from God and believe the Constitution secures rather than creates those rights. In many countries around the world, that has not been the case. One of those countries is China, a communist country since 1949 that experienced a cultural revolution in the 1960s under Mao. This was a revolution that used young people as the drivers of this remaking of Chinese culture and brainwashing of the public. Violence and intimidation, as well as humiliation, were also some of the tactics used to force these cultural changes. Our guest tonight lived through this hellish time as a young child and teenager, and later made her way to America. Tonight you'll hear not only her story of survival, but similar ideas she sees being pushed in our country. Ideas such as DEI, CRT, and other left-wing ideologies that are reminiscent of Mao's revolution and the danger they present to our country. I think everybody recognizes we are and have been in a cultural war here for a long time now. She Van Vliet joins us tonight to tell her story. But first, it's time for the Informer Report. Two U.S. soldiers were killed in Syria. First reports claim that it was an ISIS attack. CENTCOM initially stated the assailant as a lone attacker affiliated with an Islamic State group, and they were investigating how the attacker accessed the convoy. Now it's being reported that the attacker was a member of the Syrian security force. Additional online reports claim the attacker was also a former senior commander with Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, I'm sure I mispronounced that. So HTS, formerly considered a terrorist organization by the U.S. and once led by the now president of Syria, Ahmed el-Shara, the guy that once had a price on his head as a terrorist that Trump thinks is so great now. Trump says, don't worry, we'll fix it. The perpetrator is allegedly Mahmoud el-Hussein, former member of HTS. The attack was not an outside ISIS attack on a patrol. It was a jihadi terror attack on U.S. personnel from the inside of a security meeting. Can you fix stupid? Stupid as in refusing to recognize the threat of Islam and bad actors such as Sharia and those that support Islamic terror such as Qatar. Why are we even in Syria? What is our national interest in Syria? Where, by the way, Christians are being killed under this regime. Venezuela is heating up. How about some congressional involvement before we, first we take out drug boats, and people have different opinions on that. It's okay with many people. Clearly not the intent of the founders, but okay. Then we seize an improperly flagged tanker flying under another country, violating sanctions. A lot less heartburn with that. I think there's probably some justification there. But are we going to actually do land strikes or an invasion without congressional input approval? How has that turned out for us in the past when we don't have buy-in from Congress, when we don't have as terrible as Congress is, if you're going to go to war, no matter the reason you're going, you need to have some congressional input. And they don't necessarily have to declare war. There's lesser things that they could authorize. Now, maybe Maduro will leave before that happens. How much is this going to end up costing us in blood and treasure if we actually do an invasion? So there's some things to think about there. Now, China is known to be one of the main suppliers of fentanyl, and Mexico is one of the main countries that smuggle it in. What are we going to do about them? Because that was the whole thing about the drug boats, was where they're bringing fentanyl, which I hadn't really heard that before they started sinking these boats. So I don't know. Don't really know what's going on. It's a very dangerous situation, though, and we do need to have some sort of congressional involvement. Trump signs an EO banning state regulation of AI. Now, we talked about this the other day a little bit, but at least some states are balking at this unconstitutional overreach. There's several states that are, hey, we are going to pass laws for our states despite Trump's efforts to stop them. And he has no constitutional authority to do this. Remember, executive orders are from the president to the executive branch, not from the president to the states. That's not the way that works. Now, some of the good news about the recent NDAA, there's a lot of mixed baggage with at least the recent National Defense Authorization Act, but the Strickland Amendment was stripped out of it, and that's a win for the Reconciliation Monument in Arlington. It's one of the few bright spots, because that Strickland Amendment was basically going to cut the funding to rebuild that monument, and it was also going to allow the federal government to have a lot of say on how they interpret it. They were basically going to put things there that would kind of diminish the restoration, is the best way to put it. Now, the other thing to remember, of course, is the NDAA has $900 billion in spending, much of it for our so-called allies. We're already $38 trillion in debt, and we're going to spend another $900 trillion. I think $900 billion. I think $800 billion of that, somewhere along that line, is going to go to Ukraine. It's absolutely crazy. And that wraps up this installment of the Informer Report. If you have a news story that you want to alert us to, be sure to send an email at tninformer.tv@gmail.com. Before we bring on our special guest, here's a message from our sponsor, LifeWave, which is a unique product that uses light reflection to activate the body's own natural energy, supporting healing, improving performance, and combating aging without drugs or stimulants. Check it out, and we'll be right back.
Light, the energy of life itself. Since the beginning of time, light has sustained us, fueled our growth, and shaped the world. Even Einstein recognized that everything we are is made of light. But what if we could harness the light within us, not just to live, but to renew, restore, and rejuvenate? Introducing LifeWave X39, the first product in the world that activates stem cells using our body's own light. Backed by clinical research, multiple patents, and over 10 years of stem cell research, a revolutionary wearable light technology that unlocks the power of activating our own stem cells with a single, safe, affordable, non-transdermal patch that puts you back in control of how you look, feel, and perform. Unlike drugs or chemicals, X39 works naturally, awakening your body's ability to heal and thrive. It's time to unlock your full potential, restore your vitality, and embrace a healthier, more vibrant you.
And now to our guest, Chi Van Fleet, author of the book Mao's America, A Survivor's Warning. How are you doing tonight?
Good.
Hey, I appreciate you coming on with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we're proud to have you. So we're going to get right to this. I know you do a lot of these. You probably have, I think we were talking earlier, you do several of these a week, and you're an hour ahead. So we want to cover as much as possible, but not keep you too late. So you were 7 when Mao's Cultural Revolution started. What was the first event or change that you noticed?
Yes. People always question me that, how can you remember? You were just so young. Yeah, you do remember when your world turned upside down, and that's what how I remembered it. It's, to me, I don't remember when exactly started. I just remember as overnight, because overnight there's no school anymore. and the young kids. I was in elementary school. I was in the first grade, but the older kids just ousted the principals, and so the school administrators. So there's no one running the school, and so no school, and that's how I remember it. I remember it as being just totally chaotic. And so one day I went to the classroom, and there's a message from the teacher on the blackboard. There's no school for 3 days, and that 3 days turned into 2 years, no school. And for certain areas, it lasted as long as 4 years, no school.
Wow. And so your parents didn't have any idea. They didn't.
But my parents were busy doing exactly the same thing at their workplace. And that is the Cultural Revolution. The Cultural Revolution was to really to get those bad guys. Who were those bad guys? The bad guys in power, because Mao considered them his political enemies. He considered them not following his orders. And so he wanted to basically get rid of the entire CCP and the entire government by getting all those in power out of power. That is everyone was doing. So people say, did your parents take care of you? No, I could not even see my parents. They were doing exactly the same thing as the kids doing in school. And to get the bad guy out of power, and in the process, they do now a lot of Americans are familiar with struggle sessions. They get the bad guys and struggle against them, and chaotic. And at first, it was just verbal,
Right.
but eventually become violent, very violent. Eventually, it turned into almost like a civil war.
So how long were you separated from your parents? Were you separated from your parents for that whole?
I can't hear you.
How long were you separated from your parents?
I can't hear you.
How long were you separated from your parents?
No, I can hear.
Yeah. How long were you separated from your parents?
No, it's not separated. They were just not hardly home.
Okay.
And so we're just on our own. And as little kids, what we did is we just went to the street and to watch what's unfolding before our eyes, which was the Cultural Revolution by the Red Guards. And so the slogan, in the beginning, the slogan was destroy the 4 olds: old ideas, old culture, old habits, and old custom. Anything old, anything before yesterday, basically yesterday was bad, has to be destroyed. So the kids were given the power. The kids were given power and the title, Red Guards. And Mao told them, you are my Red Guards. I'm your Red Commander-in-Chief. So basically he gave them power to do whatever. So what is old? Just as I said, anything as was made yesterday was bad. They have to create a brand new world. To do so, they have to destroy everything. So what to destroy? And first of all, statues.
Wow, where have we seen that at?
Really, statues? They did it here. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And the Red Guard did it in China. And statues, temples, churches, all has to be destroyed. Books, anything that's old, has to be burned, including the textbooks that we used for my first. I only have one kind of a so-called normal semester, and the textbooks were considered bourgeois, considered not revolutionary, has to be destroyed. Everything. And names has to be changed. Street names has to be changed into politically correct or revolutionary names.
Right.
And we have seen here, did we?
We've seen that, yeah. There's an MLK
Absolutely.
in every street in this country.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so instead of looking for racist or Confederate names. In China, it was anything that is old. Old, that means traditional. Pretty names,
Right.
It's no good. It has to be changed into revolutionary names. And eventually, the Red Guards start to change their own personal names to be revolutionary and to be politically correct. So they did all that. And then they said, that's not enough because we destroyed everything in public, but there are still things hidden in people's homes. And we have to go get them out. So they went to neighborhood. They went to, and with the neighborhood committee, tell them which household to go to, which household has what. So they went to people's homes, and I watched them taking things out, breaking and destroy things like personal photos, family photos, old vases. Those are considered feudalistic and bourgeois, whatever. Everything has to be destroyed. If you resist, you get a good beat, sometimes killed right there. And so that was the beginning of the Cultural Revolution. Total destruction.
Wow. I mean, and we're seeing, I have no doubt in my mind that people on the left in America would like to do the same thing. And we've done it to some degree. We haven't gone that far down the road as with what you experienced, but we definitely have, I think, we have people with the same goals in mind, from what I can tell.
No. We have gone very far, actually. It's not a little bit, because they did exactly the same thing. They just haven't gone to people's homes. And but the goal is the same. It's the four old in America. Anything that is a traditional,
Right.
anything that's Christian,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Anything that is American, and anything that is white
Yep.
has to be destroyed. Yeah. Then it's the same revolutionary zeal and the same goal is destroy the tradition. Why they want to destroy tradition that much? Because tradition is, in a way, if you want to build a new world and you want to replace what's old with your new ideology. In China, that was Maoism, because that's not just communism. It's Maoism. It's the extreme form of communism. And here, wokeism.
Right. So the wokeism and the Maoism they're very similar.
Very similar. Yeah, it's just, but again, you can't say history just repeat. No, just like Mark Twain said, history seldom repeats.
But it rhymes.
It's just rhymes. Rhymes. Yes, it's
Absolutely.
very much so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the things like the four olds, it's different, but it's the idea is the same.
Yeah, you can cut and paste that to any society. Just determine maybe the four main important olds of that country and attack those. Okay.
So, but to understand the reason they want to do it, because they want to introduce something new, and that is the woke and the Maoism is just a different form of Marxism.
Right. Now, so denouncement was part of that, and I think you've kind of hit that, but I think denouncement was the correct term, where they would publicly humiliate these people and they would denounce them for, I guess, holding on to old ideas or not being sufficiently, we would say, woke enough today, but I don't think that was the actual term, but they weren't, I guess they were not revolutionary enough.
Yeah. In order for me to explain that, I have to go back a little bit in history and why Mao want to launch this Cultural Revolution. With that understanding, everything just makes more sense. Okay. So why Mao wanted to launch this disastrous revolution? And it is because in the late 1950s and early 1960s, Mao implemented his disastrous policy, and it's called Great Leap Forward. Right. And he wanted to mobilize the entire country to do one thing, to modernize China by making steel. Everyone, I mean peasants, kids, housewives, bureaucrats, everyone has to do one thing, to make steel. because he believed that in China, we have the will, we have the power of people. We can do that, and we can surpass United States and UK in steel production. Steel production, it's not for reason the living standards of Chinese people. It's all about the state power, right? So everyone has to do that, including peasants. They have to make the backyard furnace to make steel, and we don't have steel to don't have the what do you call that? Not just infrastructure, the material.
Right.
So everyone was urged to go home and get anything metal from your home, doorknobs, keys, the kitchen utensils, everything, and throw it into the furnace, and they all come out junk. And meanwhile,
yeah,
that is the madness of centralized power. When a group of people or one person had that much power, yeah, they can make all sorts of decisions, including absolutely crazy decisions. So meanwhile, the crop failed because every man in the village was making steel. So eventually we had a famine. That famine started in 1959, lasted for 3 years, and in the end, up to 50 million peasants starved to death. So
wow.
Even in a communist country like China, that was still a big deal. And so Mao was forced to admit that his policy failed. And he was forced to give up some of his power, let other to do the recovery. Basically just recover and economically, so that at least people won't starve to death anymore. So that was 1962. And so Mao lost power. But for the average Chinese, they still consider him their great leader. So, but for him, that was not acceptable, that he lost power. So in 1966, he launched this Cultural Revolution. There's one goal: to get power back. And so he considered all those people in power were the people that betrayed him, because they are the ones together, the party and the government, sidelined him. So he wanted to get power back. And that's why he mobilized the kids to do that job. So back to your question. Now,
well, now I've got another question.
okay.
So I'm surprised that it being a communist country, that the powers that be allowed him to do that. I'm surprised they didn't just lock him up when he came back out and started pushing this.
I know, you would think so, but no, he still have a lot of power. He had too much power. That is the problem. Unlimited power. And giving in some power, meaning just let the other two guys, one is Deng Xiaoping, who become his successor
right
after his death. Another is the president of China, Liu Shaoqi. They were the ones just put there to basically to do cleanup of the big mess. But to him, that was not acceptable. So Liu Shaoqi became his #1 enemy, and many argue that the whole Cultural Revolution was aimed to get rid of Liu Shaoqi, the #2 figure of CCP. So in order to remove his political opponent, he was willing to drag the entire country into absolute turmoil. And so in the process, all this, everyone in power, because he just condemned the whole party. So that's why you talk about the condemnation. So Cultural Revolution is a revolution against the CCP bureaucrats,
right.
the CCP leaders. So in school, that was principal. In my parents' workplace, it was whoever was in charge. So they have to go through this what called struggle session. So they have to be most time put on the stage, and then they have mass gathering to condemn them,
right.
and for wrongdoing, and whatever wrongdoing, whatever. Mostly the accusation is that they were capitalist roaders. Capitalist roader meaning take us back to the road of capitalism, and because they don't follow Mao's party line of class struggle, they focus on the economy. That is not acceptable. That is capitalism. So they were struggled against, condemned, many of them beaten, abused, and tortured, and some of them just killed right there. And I urge you, listener, take a look at this, just like a 5 minutes opening thing of this new series called Three Body Problems.
What's it called again?
Three Body Problems. I think that is in Netflix.
Okay.
It's about some sci-fi something. But the beginning was a struggle session of college students condemn their professor. And when the professor argued with them, he was killed right there. And so in my book, I mentioned about this professor in the university in Washington, Weinstein, Brett Weinstein, I believe that's his name.
Sounds familiar, yeah.
Yeah, so he was forbidden as a white professor to come to campus during the day of something. The day was preserved for the oppressed students, black and brown, and he dared to go there. So they had a struggle session for him, and he argued with them. And then it's on video. You can watch it, and it's just amazing. It's just the Cultural Revolution.
And the university allowed it. The school allowed it.
Yeah, of course. And then the president apologized to the students. But in my book, I said, well, just consider yourself fortunate. If you were arguing with the red guards in China, you would be beaten to death right there, and there's no consequence.
And the red guards were mostly young people, correct?
Yeah, it's as young as elementary school kids, or from elementary school all the way to college. Yes, all kids.
Wow.
Why? Just think why? Because it's easy. Because Mao wanted to take down his political enemies. He did not want to use the military. That would look like a coup, right? But now he said that's people's will. People do not want you to take us back to capitalism. It's all BS. But the kids, because they have been indoctrinated so much for the past 17 years since 1949, they could not think. I was one of them. You could not think. You only know one thing: to obey, right. To obey the party, to obey Chairman Mao. And so, if Mao said do this, you do it. You never question because you are so indoctrinated. You are just basically incapable of have independent thinking or critical thinking. You're
like a robot. It's just going to program you to tell you to go do X, Y, or Z.
And also, more than that, also when you have power, like a little kid, now you have the power to do all sorts of things, including kill your principal. You just absolutely feel so empowered. You absolutely will do whatever because this is something that you never dreamed about, that one day you have that kind of power. That is absolutely what's happening here. A lot of the BMAmers, Antifa, they were so emboldened because they knew there's no consequences.
Right.
That's what we saw in 2020, right?
Yep.
Most of them, they can do whatever. They destroy everything, burn business down, no consequences. Those were arrested, quickly released. Released. Yeah, no consequence. So that is what happened in China. For one thing, they were indoctrinated. For other, they were given the power.
Yeah. So it wasn't really sequential in terms of who they target. I mean, they kind of just targeted whoever was in charge. They targeted them all at once. It was all simultaneous.
Very simple.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called those capitalist rulers in position of power. So you don't have to figure out who is a good person, who is bad. All bad. All of them are bad. And so eventually the Red Guards got hold of Liu Shaoqi, the president of China, and struggled against him and his wife especially. They parade her around the university campuses and ridiculed her and then imprisoned her as well. So Liu Shaoqi died while imprisoned, and a few years later. And I had no idea what happened to him. I found out much later that he basically was left to die, and so that was a communist. Okay, so the Cultural Revolution was a revolution against Mao's comrades.
Right. And so, but some of these Red Guards eventually ended up being useful idiots, right?
They are all useful idiots. They did not know. Just like the Antifa and the BMMers, they thought they were empowered. Yeah, they're just like the Red Guard. Once the job is done, they take down all those people in power, and new people took over. New people were the ones more radical that Mao trusted, and then they were no longer useful. So what did Mao do? Mao sent them all to the countryside to work in the fields to get the so-called re-education, and that's what happened to me. By the time I graduated from high school in 1955, in 1975, because Cultural Revolution has destroyed everything, no jobs, nothing. There's so many young people. What you do is send to the countryside to get re-education from the peasants. So off I went to the countryside, work in the fields for 3 years until Mao's death, and I was able to go to college. So that's what happened to the useful idiots.
So what was the re-education? What was the focus of the re-education?
They tell you the re-education is that you want to be a real communist, you have to learn to do the hard work. The work sets you free. Remember that from Nazi?
Yeah.
Same thing. Work sets you free. So you labor and you learn to experience hardship. That's what makes you a better communist. Of course, it's all BS, but that's what happened to the Red Guards, who did all the job that Mao wanted them to do, and that's the end result. And that's something I really want young people to understand. But I don't know how many people will pay attention. You are a useful idiot, and learn from history what happens to the useful idiots. No good, nothing good, nothing good.
Yeah, well, and I think we got a lot of useful idiots out there, and we got a lot of useful idiot candidates. So what was the main source of the indoctrination?
Well, one thing is control of information. You just totally control. And so that was what Mao did in China. The books were very much controlled. What you can read, and then the media is totally controlled. And school, the textbook, and then the message was controlled. So everything was carefully controlled. So for older people, they will have some memory, right? They'll have memory of before communists took over in 1949. But for young people like me, I don't know. I did not know anything in the past. I just believed whatever I was told because they had nothing to compare. And people say, how about your parents? Did they tell you, the old China, whatever? No, they didn't, because they were communists. They tried to do exactly the same thing at school. They will make sure that I'm a good little communist. And so the indoctrination is not just from schools and media, it's everywhere. It's the total control, community and a family. And so there are families that parents told their kids some truth. I never heard anything because my parents are totally committed communists. Yeah, they believe in the party, and they make sure that I believe in the party, and so that is indoctrination. So when everything was controlled, you cannot think critically. How can you think critically when you don't have information? So to me, that is what happened in China. It's easy to do because they have one party dictatorship. And here, what they do is they control the narrative.
Yep.
And even though they cannot control all the information, the book's still there. There's still, like a podcast here, right?
Right.
And you can still go. But they indoctrinate the kids so well today, they don't want to go. I have nowhere to go, but they don't want to go. They don't want to have just that little click. You see, I want to find out what the other side were saying. They don't want to do that. And so in many ways, I think that the Marxists in America, they are a whole lot more sophisticated than Mao because they had to, because they're dealing with free people. Right. In China, they had the power to control everything. If you question, well, you're going to be taken care of. Right. You're going to be, you're going to be labeled as, instead of labeled as a racist, you will be labeled as counter-revolutionary. So counter-revolutionary during the Cultural Revolution is the equivalent of racist. Just call you counter-revolutionary, you're finished. Just like here, they can call black conservatives racist, and you're finished.
Yeah. And so some of the other things that we see today in America, so the whole group identity, the DEI, the CRT, all those things are related to what you experienced. Just they're put out there in a little different way.
Yeah. So that was before Cultural Revolution. Actually, as soon as the CCP took over power, they use just very simple categorization for the entire population. So they have two classes. One is black. Black class means you own property or you own land, and or you don't work with your hand. That means you are. They call anybody that don't work with their hand exploiter, because that's not honest work. So they belong to the black class, and that means you are the enemy of the revolution, and they become a label. And that label stay with you. Not only stay with you, you pass down to your children and your children's children. So your children can be born, you no longer have properties because it's taken.
Right.
But the child will have the same label.
It's like a caste system.
Exactly. It's a communist caste system. Yeah. And the other were called red class. A red class you can kind of figure out. That means revolutionary. Right. So you're the allies of the revolution. So they do the same thing. Their label passed down to their children. So when you have this black class, you have no rights. Nobody have rights, but you have less rights. Definitely less rights. And so first of all, your children could not go to college, and your children or yourself could not get promotion, no matter how good you are. Yeah, that's DEI. Yeah, no matter, it's not meritocracy, because meritocracy really implied it's freedom, because you don't get someone's permission to be successful. You use your own talent, your hard work, and then you succeed that way. That's freedom. That's not control. When they control you, they decide what you deserve.
Right.
If you are a good doctor, but you are from the bad black class, you will not get the title you deserve. When I was in elementary school, I had a bike accident. accident. So I was hospitalized for a week or two, and so I found that there was a old lady and clean our wards, and she seems to be nice. She seems to be educated. Even I, as a little girl, I could tell she did not look like she was just a janitor. So I learned that she was a doctor, and the main what you call that, like the chief doctor or leading doctor
Right.
of that department. But because her background, her family background was black, she was punished. So she became a janitor.
Wow.
And that's extreme DEI. And the doctor that did my surgery was just minor. It's not a big deal. But that person was not really qualified. But she's from a good family, meaning from a red family.
Used to be the janitor, right?
Huh?
Used to be the janitor, and now they made her a doctor, huh?
Exactly. Yeah. And so who suffer? Patients suffer, right?
Yeah.
You don't get the best treatment.
Wow.
You get the politically correct treatment. That's DEI.
What about Mao's Little Red Book? I've heard a lot about it.
Okay, so so information was totally controlled before the Cultural Revolution, and everything was absolutely determined by the central government. What is allowed to teach, what is not. But even then, I said before, anything before yesterday was condemned. That include the communist textbooks and the books, and no good. So everything has to be destroyed. So when we finally went back to school, there's no textbooks because those textbooks were considered not revolutionary enough. So we had one book, Mao's Little Red Book. So that was our textbook for an entire year.
What was in it?
We read from the beginning to the end, back and forth for a whole year.
What was in Mao's? I'm sorry. What was in Mao's Little Red Book?
BS. No, it's just a little. It's absolute BS. It's little quotations, out of context quotations from his whatever works. So it's made by his handpicked successor, Lin Biao. And so he wanted to show his loyalty to Mao because he was handpicked as Mao's successor. So he made this Little Red Book. And it's just one of the quotation is that whatever our enemy oppose, we support. Whatever our enemies support, we oppose. Is that sounds like today?
That sounds like
whatever
the Democrats.
Trump supports, we oppose. Doesn't matter. And so actually, even in me, in my mind, the young mind, I did question it. I said, what if our enemy like candy? Do I just have to hate candy? And I'd love to have some candy. But those are the things. It's just an example. It's all little quotation short. So we read from the beginning to the end, and some of them were made into songs. So we'll read, and if one passage was made into song, we'll sing it. That's absolute insanity.
Wow. Yeah, and the Democrats have definitely they've adapted that part because anything, especially with Trump, anything Trump supports, they're against.
I tweeted something. And then someone made this picture. Trump said, "Don't eat shit." No, they're going to eat shit because just anything Trump says, we're against it.
Oh wow. So how much violence did you see? And do we have any idea how many were killed and imprisoned during that time frame?
Yeah. So the Cultural Revolution started in 1966 in May. Actually, there is a beginning date because the central government newspaper had this announcement. Today, we announce that we're going to launch this Cultural Revolution to clean out the the capitalist rulers from our party, from our government, or whatever. So in May, okay, and so in August, barely 3 months into the Cultural Revolution, the first killing took place, and in Beijing, and so in all girls middle school, bunch of girls as young as 12, I guess 12 to 16, they got their principal, and in a struggle session, beat her up, tortured her, and killed her. And then, as you know, those young girls, they were a little bit scared. Actually, they're very much scared. They reported this to the Central Revolutionary Cultural Revolution Committee, and they did not know what to do. And there's nothing. They did not hear back that they did something wrong. After that, beating and killing become commonplace in China. And during that time, because it's started with the young people, the Red Guards, every principal in China suffered. Many of them beaten, some of them killed. So that is only the beginning. And I did not see it because and it's an elementary school. But in middle school and high school and college, killing become absolute commonplace. No consequences. Absolutely. And here's the sad thing. Among the middle school girls that killed their principal, the first incident in China, the leader, she came to America, and in the late 1970s, and so eventually she went to MIT, got her PhD in environmental engineering, and worked for the Massachusetts State Department, state government. Talk about the vetting. No vetting, because Americans have no idea.
Wow.
No idea who they let in. So they let in killers. I don't know how many killers they let in, but she died recently. And she become almost like what made her very famous is that after the killing, and Mao received about 1 million Red Guards in Tiananmen Square. And that's, you can just easily find a photo of Mao in army uniform and waving at the students on Tiananmen Square Tower. So this girl was chosen to be the representative of the Red Guards, to put on the Red Guards armband on Chairman Mao. And there was a picture of her, and then Mao said, "What's your name?" And she said, "My name is Bing Bing." Bing Bing means gentle or graceful. And Mao said, "Oh, that's kind of too bourgeois. You should consider a name that is violent or martial." So she changed her name. Into this Yao. Yao means violent, basically.
Wow. And
that made her very famous.
And went to MIT. Yeah. Did you say MIT? Or
yes, exactly. Become a citizen. Her father was a high-ranking CCP official. That talking about vetting of Afghan or all those people, the vetting was missing to the Chinese immigrants from the very beginning. Because American people, the American State Department, they have no idea. They absolutely have no idea. They let in. Okay, so here's a very sad reality. Almost 95% of the highest ranking CCP officials have their children or grandchildren in the United States, and they are citizens, and they can vote.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you think that they all are against CCP communism?
No, by no means. By no means.
Yes.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
So this vetting thing's been an issue for longer than what we even
imagined. For a long time. Long time.
So after Mao died, how did things change?
Okay. So when Mao died in 1976, that's 10 years. That's what that Cultural Revolution lasted 10 years. That was my youth. That I started at 7. By the time he died, I was 17. And so everything was in ruins. Everything. 20-some million people died. And most of them, you know what, here's the sad thing. Most of them died not because of a government or state violence. Some, yes, but mostly it's people killing people because they were divided. They because Mao, that's what Mao did best: divide them, label them, and change the label. And so people were busy killing each other. 20-some people died. The economy was there's no economy. Yeah, it's a good thing that we're not starving, but we're pretty much just
Hand to mouth.
hanging there. Yeah, there's nothing. And the worst of all, people lost faith in communism and the CCP because by then no one believed in CCP. So Deng Xiaoping had to do something. Deng Xiaoping was the successor. He knew that if he did not do anything, not only the country was in will be totally collapsed, but also CCP. So he decided to do reform, not political reform,
Right.
just so-called economic reform.
Yeah.
And opening up, say, hi, capitalists, we love you now. And so come here, and we have slave laborers, and they cost you. Do you know the salary for the Chinese labor in the early 90s?
No.
I think it's 45 cents an hour.
Oh, wow.
45 cents an hour. Yeah. So all the capitalists, okay, let's go to China.
Yeah.
And then they built China. And that is the story. And today, China become the number 2, not only the number 2 economy in the world, but become our most powerful threat.
Yeah.
We never faced such a threat. Not Soviet Union, not Nazi Germany. Now China, all because of us.
Yeah, we built our enemy. Our government built our enemy. That's exactly what they did. So
yes.
You came over here in '86. How did you get here? Is it just because they opened up, you were allowed to come? Is that basically it?
After Mao's death and Deng Xiaoping opened up university were pretty much closed during the Cultural Revolution. And then later it opened up. But this is something that I think Americans need to know. So when Mao opened university, he said, we're going to have a total reform. We're not going to get students who are just have high scores. We're going to give students who are read to the core. That means your family has to be proletarian. So when they after the university closed for 4 years or so, they really opened. The first time they opened in the best university in Beijing, like Beijing University, Tsinghua University, the best of the best, they the first group of students they got, I think more than half of them are elementary school graduate. Only like a 20% high school graduate. Why? They are all politically reliable.
Yep.
They are the worst DEI, and most of the people they got into college, the best college, by recommendation by the party bosses. That's the DEI. And eventually the professors now back to work. They were all persecuted, now back to work. They said they were teaching middle school courses in the best universities in China.
Wow. and we've
the
always
story
been
is that, after Mao died, Deng Xiaoping said, no more of that. And so we're going to get students by examination, basically by merit. So I took the examination, I passed it, and I went to college. And after college, I was given a job. Giving a job, you don't get a job. The party give you a job.
Right.
So I was lucky to teach in a teachers training college, where I met American people. American people come to teach during the summer in the in middle 1980s, and I met just the best, wonderful woman from Kentucky, and we become friends. And so she said she wanted to help me to go to college in Kentucky, and I said, oh, I'm sure after she leave for the summer, she will forget. She didn't. She helped me to come to America.
Yeah. Glad that she followed up. So let me ask you this. What is it you see, and I know we've talked about some of it, I guess two big things. The similarities that you've seen that are things that are going on here, and like I say, we've already talked about some, and then what we need to understand about China today, because they're still communist. They might be opened up, but they're still overall a communist country, and as you said a minute ago, they're still our biggest threat. So what do we need to do, and what do you see that we're pretty far down, we're further down the road than we realize, I would assume.
Okay. My message to Americans is that we have to understand what communism is all about. Many people ask me, they said, when did CCP start to get communism? How did the CCP and import communism to America? And that was absolutely wrong to think that way. Communism has been here forever. And so the CCP was founded in 1921.
Right.
And the Communist Party USA was founded in 1919. Okay, so 2 years after the Russian Revolution. So communism and socialism has always been here in America.
Right.
And so what really happened is in the 30s. And by now, I think you listener probably have heard about the Frankfurt School.
Frankfurt School, yep.
Yes, they came here, and they get settled in the heart of American capitalism, New York City, Columbia University.
Right.
And starting from there, they started to teach communism, Marxism. But this is a little different, with a little twist. Not like a Maoism, but it's an Americanized cultural Marxism. Little by little, they took over the universities, and they launched their first cultural revolution in America, not in 2020, but in the 1960s.
Yep.
And that is called counterculture. When you think about it, the American Cultural Revolution launched and about the same time of Mao's Cultural Revolution in China. One is called Mao's Cultural Revolution. Another is called counterculture. Same thing. They want to destroy religion. They destroy Christianity, not just any religion.
Right.
They destroy marriage. The feminists, they want to destroy marriage.
Yep.
They want to destroy anything traditional. But back then, actually, they did not reach the critical mass because most of Americans are still conservative. So after the war ended in Vietnam, that's how they launched their revolution, right? And this seems to be things seems to calm down and went back to normal, but it didn't.
They never go away. They never go away. They're always there, looking for an
No.
opportunity.
Yeah, they went to college, universities. Those revolutionaries become tenured professors. Yep. Since then, they have been working hard to convert everyone into future Marxists. They are very successful, very successful. Your listeners probably also heard this expression, long march through institutions.
Yes.
Little by little, They send out, because everyone in charge of a university in institution from those universities. So now when the conservatives finally woke up, they said, what happened? What happened to our institutions? They're all taken by the leftists or communists. That's what happened. Little by little, the conservatives were asleep. They were taking over. They're taking over our educational system, our medical institution, every institution,
everything,
every political party, both conservative, both Republican, both Republican and Democrat. And they take over our military.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
And they take over our church.
How did you? Oh, yeah, they've definitely made a lot of inroads in the church, and that's been going on a lot longer than people realize.
Yes.
I could do a whole episode just on that. What was it? Before the show, we were talking, and how was it that you described the Republicans, or most Republicans, not all of them?
I think the Democratic Party has transitioned into a communist party.
Right.
But it's not a party thing. It's not like, Democrats are bad. No, the Republicans, and we have a name for them, Rhino, but I have another name for them. They're communist light.
Communist light. I believe it, especially from what I see. Hey, I really appreciate you coming on and being with us. I know we could talk at least another hour, but can't do that. And really, now your book is Mao's America, A Survivor's Warning. And you can get it on Amazon. And you've written a couple other books about your experiences as well that are available on Amazon, correct?
No, those are the AI pirates.
Oh, okay.
No. I'm
glad I mentioned that. So this is your legitimate book.
Yeah, but my new book is coming out next month. It's called Made in America: The Hidden History of How the U.S. enabled the communist China and made our it's a long title. Made our most powerful threat, something like that.
Wow.
And it's all about how America, through its lack of understanding, or worse, knowingly or unknowingly, enabled the rise of communist China.
Well, that'll be interesting.
So it's coming up in January 27th, and it's you can pre-order. And I do think that is important book. And after this one is basically, I'm talking about the parallels between the two cultural revolutions.
Right.
One in China, one in America, but the other one really help you to understand. Communist China did not just rise there by itself. Right. We made so many mistakes, little by little. We helped the rise of this evil empire.
Well, I will get back in touch with you, and after that book comes out, I want to get you back on, and I want to talk about that one. So,
yes.
Hey, thanks again. I really appreciate you coming on. Great information. Loved having you, and just thank you very much.
Thank you. See you next time.
All right, take care. Our second show tonight, 8:30 p.m. Central. I hope you will join us. That will be with Dave Benner, author of the book Compact of the Republic. We'll be talking about the original intent of the Constitution and understanding at the time of ratification, and how key figures early on undermined the scope and perception of the Constitution. Hope you'll join us. I want to thank the audience for taking the time to watch our show tonight. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe, so please be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons as well as the notification bell so you never miss an episode. We appreciate your support. Thanks again to our sponsor, and thanks to David Baldiman for his recent generous donation. We really appreciate that. Check out our audio podcast on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and other platforms as well. Sign up for our weekly newsletter at our website, tninformer.com. Find and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. A few announcements here. Knoxville Liberty is hosting a Bill of Rights fundraiser for Monty Fritz, December 18th. Doors open at 5:30 p.m., dinner at 7. No tickets at the door, so you have to buy. Actually, I think yesterday was the deadline to buy tickets, so I apologize for that. But anyway, this is Knoxville Liberty in Knoxville, Tennessee. The event, Yeah, okay, the time has passed for that. I apologize. Anyway, there is a update, and I don't have time to go over it, but Judicial Watch released, and this has to do with Tennessee fair elections, seeking transparency in voter roll maintenance. So this is out of D.C. If you go to Judicial Watch Incorporated, you can read what they put out about this. This has to do with requests for public records from Tennessee's Coordinator of Elections, Mark Goins, citing apparent violations of the National Voter Registration Act. Federal law requires each state's chief election official to maintain and make publicly available records related to the voter maintenance rolls, including statewide registration lists, addresses, confirmations, so on and so forth. And they have not delivered yet. So our state is not playing ball on this. Go to the Judicial Watch website and get some more information on that. Got a little more information for you down here for some upcoming events. Also, you can go to Tennessee Fair Elections at gmail.com and get information about that as well. Our guest next week will be Greg Hearn from Australia, here to talk to us about how the Islamists are making gains there as the government does nothing to stop it. We'll also talk about the recent attack at Bondi Beach. Hope you can join us next week as well. That's it for now. Good night from Paris, Tennessee, that is.